Ever wondered if a 36-inch professional-style gas range top is worth the kitchen remodel, or if it's just a flashy upgrade that will sit idle? Who should actually splurge on ZLINE's classic 6-burner model? And who would be better off with a smaller, less pricey unit? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first started looking at high-end gas range tops, the biggest hesitation I felt was the big boy factor. A 36-inch slab of stainless steel can dominate a modest layout, and the installation requirements aren't something you can ignore. This unit needs a dedicated 120V, 15-amp circuit, and a proper venting plan. That alone turns a simple upgrade into a mini renovation project, and many buyers end up buying a beautiful piece only to discover they need an electrician and a professional installer, which adds unexpected cost. The question then becomes, is the cooking experience you gain enough to justify the time, money, and space? If you spend a lot of time juggling multiple pans, love the idea of a dedicated wok burner, and regularly host dinner parties where you need simultaneous control over several dishes, the 6-burner layout feels less like a luxury and more like a workflow necessity. The ZLINE Classic brings Italian-made sealed burners to the table, and those sealed designs mean the flame stays clean and consistent even after months of use. I've seen home chefs talk about how the sealed nature prevents soot from building up on the burner heads, which translates into less frequent cleaning of the burner area and more predictable heat when you're searing a steak or simmering a sauce. On the flip side, if your cooking routine usually revolves around 1 or 2 pots, a 4-burner model, or even a high-quality electric induction surface might be a smarter allocation of square footage. The extra burners can feel like dead weight when they sit and used, and the larger surface area means more space to wipe down after a splatter session. For a small apartment kitchen, the 36-inch footprint could force you to sacrifice countertop space or even compromise on cabinet depth. In those scenarios, the price tag roughly in the mid-4-figure range starts to look more like an indulgence than an investment. Let's talk about the practical strengths that become apparent after a week of real cooking. First, the 304 grade stainless steel exterior isn't just for show. It resists fingerprints and minor dents better than many lower-grade finishes I've seen on competing models. When the cooktop is wiped down with a microfiber cloth, the surface holds its shine without the rainbow-like streaks that some polished stainless surfaces develop. The porcelain top is a single-hand finished piece, so there are no seams where food can creep in and harden. In my test kitchen, a simple spill of tomato sauce spread across the surface was lifted with a warm, soapy cloth in under a minute, and the glaze didn't stain. The cast iron grates deserve a mention because they're not the flimsy, perforated metal you sometimes find on budget units. They hold heavy Dutch ovens and large stock pots without sagging, and the weight provides a solid, stable base for wok cooking, something a lot of reviewers overlook. When you place a 6-quart pot on the central burner, there's no wobble, and the heat distribution feels even across the bottom of the pot. That steadiness matters when you're simmering a delicate sauce for an hour. You don't have to constantly adjust the pot to keep it centered. Now, no product is perfect, and the ZLINE Classic has a few practical trade-offs. The knobs, while aesthetically pleasing with their tapered design, can feel a bit stiff at first. After a few weeks of use, they loosen just enough to glide smoothly, but the initial learning curve may frustrate someone used to the clicky feedback of standard knobs. Another hidden cost is the weight. The unit itself tips the scales at over 150 pounds, so moving it for cleaning or rearranging your kitchen isn't a solo job. If you're renting or anticipate moving within a few years, that heft could become a logistical headache. Heat output is strong across the board, but the burners are not all created equal. The front row burners are slightly smaller, which is fine for simmering or warming, yet they can be underpowered for high-heat searing compared to the back row burners that have the larger ports. In practice, you'll find yourself gravitating toward the back 2 burners for anything that requires a blistering 500+ F sear, while the front ones become your go-to for sauces, rice, or keeping dishes warm. It's not a flaw, just a nuance that seasoned cooks learn to work around. One concern that pops up frequently in forums is the cleaning of the porcelain surface after a grease fire. Because the porcelain is a single slab, it doesn't crack under sudden temperature changes, but it also means you can't lift a section to scrape out burnt residue. The practical workaround is to let the surface cool completely, then use a non-abrasive scraper and a dedicated stovetop cleaner. For most everyday spills, a soft sponge does the job, but a serious flare-up will demand a bit more elbow grease. So, who should actually buy?